Hello, friend. I want to talk to you today about something that is probably an unpopular opinion and also near and dear to my heart. Maybe it's not an unpopular opinion, but I want to talk to you about why I do not put pressure on my kids to get good grades. And the reason for this is when I look at the public school system, and again, this is just like my opinion, my experience, but I look at the public school system and I see how freaking antiquated it is. And the thing is, yes, for those of you out there that's like, well, then homeschool. Tried that. My kids didn't want to. They want to go see friends. And that is fine. They had a choice. I gave it to them. And they know how I feel about the public school system. I feel like it's an outdated system. I know that they always say no child left behind, but it is set up perfectly to leave multiple children behind. And the thing is, nobody is built. I'm not saying nobody, some people actually are, but nobody's built to be like superb at every subject. Some people excel in science, some people excel in English, some people excel in math. And the kids that excel in every single subject are few and far between. And so when we have a system that demands that our kids know and are well versed in each subject, that is not setting them up for success because we're telling them that they're failing. And they're not failing. We all have our own strengths and we all have the subjects that we love. Now, I am not saying like not putting pressure on my kids. This does not allow room for laziness. You will show up, you will try your best, but if you still get a C in that class, I am not going to punish you. And it's interesting because I have a friend who is a coach for kids in the school, for a behavior coach. And she said that she sees so many parents who are putting pressure on their fifth graders, like, oh, they got an A minus instead of an A, and they are banned from doing activities until they can figure out how to get that grade up. And I just think, what is that doing to your kid mentally? So for you moms out there who have your own business, what if when you started your business, it was like, oh, you have to come in, you have to do everything perfectly from the get-go, or you will never hit your six-figure goal. I will make sure that you never hit that. It doesn't happen. And so we as entrepreneurs, we have a very different outlook on life. And to be honest, it's really hard for me to watch my kids go to school and to come home, and if they're having a hard time in something, to see them cry. There were days that my little boy would forget his homework. He was in third grade, and he would call me crying, or he would run back from the bus, like the bus stop before the bus came, just in a fit of tears because he didn't have his homework and it had to get turned in that day. And I was like, buddy, what is the consequence if you don't turn it in today? Then what would happen? Well, I would take it tomorrow. I'm like, okay. But it's so sad to me how stressed out these kids are over making sure that they are doing things perfectly so they don't fail. I don't love that. And so, where my kids have chosen to go to school, we have a lot of conversations around it at home. And we talk about laziness is not acceptable. Being disrespectful is not acceptable. And if you're going to miss school for an activity or for something else, you will still make up the work that you missed. And they know that I don't love the school system and how it is set up. I feel like it's set up to just push out factory workers, basically. They push out these kids to just stay reliant upon the government. Like, where are the self-care classes, people? Where is the breath work being incorporated into the school system? Where is mind management being incorporated into the school system? Instead, we have people behavior specialists coming into the school to enforce behavior, and kids are getting punished and getting sent to the principal's office for behavior, and we're not really getting to the root of the problem. And so let's look at this differently and think about how we can help our kids. And that is just simply having conversations at home around how you feel about it as a parent, what you expect from your children. So there's a clear boundary. If my daughter ever has anything lower than a D, she's not going on her activities. Like, I will say that because at that point, to me, I know what she's capable of, and that's just pure laziness. And so you get to put the boundaries in place. You get to decide what your guidelines are, but also let your kid know it is okay to not be good at everything in school. Because some teachers make your kids feel like that, make them feel like they're failing. Their behavior isn't appropriate. These guys are kids. They are not made to go sit in a desk for 6 hours and just do work and then come home and have 2 more hours of homework. It's awful. And so you decide where your guidelines and your boundaries are, but have the conversation with your kids because they're human too. We don't love the school system at our house, but my kids want to go. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if you want to go, you will be respectful and you will get your work done. Laziness is not okay. If you're turning in assignments late, you're going to have to tell me why. No assignment should be turned in late unless you missed. So decide where your boundaries are, but just know that we're not set up to be perfect at everything, and it's the same as you growing your business. There are things that you don't know. Maybe you're not very good with numbers. Maybe you're not very good with marketing. Maybe you're not very good with messaging. Maybe you're not good at creating your offer and you need help, and that's okay. And so I want you to just think about your kid's brain as they're going back to school this fall. I really want you to think about their little minds and what is going to serve them in the long run instead of hinder them. Because we're all unpacking the shit that we had to deal with as kids. So how much shit do we want our kids to have to unpack when they become adults? Failure is okay. They are not going to be perfect in everything. And when we put the pressure on them to be perfect, this is when we start to have mental health issues later on because they think that they're horrible and they're placing their value and their worth on how well they perform. Let's not do that to our kids this year. And save yourself some stress as a mom. I will tell you, it feels so good to be able to just like lay back a little bit and know, like, my girls come home and do their homework. No, their grades are absolutely not perfect, but I don't care. They know the boundary and they stay well above that, and life feels good. They are not putting pressure on themselves to get a certain grade. They're just allowing themselves to put in their best effort. Maybe sometimes they don't put in their best effort, and that's okay because then they have to do it twice and they don't like that. So they're learning real fast that do it right the first time or try your best the first time or you're going to bomb it and you're going to have to do it again anyways. So these guys are going to learn their lessons on their own. So give yourself some space to relax a little bit this school year and don't put quite as much pressure on your kids if you are. I used to be the mom that put all the pressure on the kids. That's why this lesson's coming out. And it was with my oldest, and it was when she hit middle school. Middle school was like a huge jump because in elementary school, my kids get very little homework, if any. It's usually just reading, maybe one side of a math page. And when they went into middle school, it was like, holy crap, where did all this homework come from? This is awful. And when you have sports that you are participating in, when you have extracurriculars that you are participating in, these kids are in school for 6 hours. I am sorry, they do not want to come home and do 2 more hours of homework. Like, I just don't think that they should have to. This is just my own opinion. But allow yourself to relax a little bit if you're one of the moms that's putting pressure on your kids, because I did that to myself through my oldest 6th and 7th grade year. And by the time she hit 8th grade, I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it when it's a fight every night to get homework done. Where else can we support our kids? Can we reach out to the school and say, look, this isn't working? By the time my kid gets home from school, their brain is fried. They don't want to come home and do 2 hours of homework. Reach out, advocate for your kids, but also take that pressure off yourself to put the pressure on your kids because you think that they should get good grades. Because that is just not how it has to work. And I will talk to you next time.